remembers it before. There were no paved streets then.
Mm-hmm.
They were still selling turtle oil on the street.
Wow.
I don't even go in there anymore.
So, John and Rennie, where are your houses? Is it past Ensenada?
Oh yeah, we're down in southern Baja. We're at the very end of the Cape.
Okay. Do you get to Ensenada much?
I just drive through Tecate now. Yeah.
It's so difficult going through that area now. So congested.
Really? So there used to be a restaurant in Ensenada called the Wine Cask. And it used to be I think it was a Santo Tomas winery headquarters. The restaurant was there, and it was the tables were in the casks, the big casks themselves. And that food was incredible. It was I think a Belgian guy owned the restaurant there, and it was like French gourmet. It was amazing.
Was it on the beach, right by the beach?
Yeah, it was by the beach.
Yeah.
You kind of pass the hotel, the big 1920s hotel there. I don't know, there's been years. I used to have
Ensenada's where we get on the boat to go cage diving with the great whites.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Out to Guadalupe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a trip out there.
This is the Artist Response with Elizabeth Stewart.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to join us.
A 5-day trip.
Please stay tuned for a program produced by Richard Dugan and researched and presented by Elizabeth Stewart, who welcomes the great artists of our community.
Yeah, we got pretty close.
What follows is a conversation of an artist's experience about the artist's response to trying times, creativity, reinvention, recovery, and of course, flexibility, which is in fact the narrative of our present time.
In 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Hello, Santa Barbara. It's your chantress of everything valuable and beautiful, Elizabeth Stewart, and my pal from the Maritime Museum, Greg Gorga, said, we're doing this exhibition and book, and it's fantastic. And he sent me a big PDF of the book. And you guys have got to see this show, and you've got to pick up this book. It's just landmark. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the show. It's called Heritage, Craft, and Evolution, Surfboard Design, 1885, who knew, to 1959. And here to help me kind of break down the exhibition, how it came to be, I've got Greg Gorga talking with us, and John Comer and Rennie Yater. Let me just introduce, everybody knows Greg. He's the director of the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum, and he's around the museum a lot. You'll run into him when you get to see this exhibition, and he does all kinds of great things for the museum. And the shows that he brings, they're so innovative and they're so artistic that it's just an honor to know Greg. Rennie Yater is here. A famous name, one of the first and most prominent commercial surfboard shapers of the 1950s. He's credited with expanding the sport of surfing. One of the bio kind of lines is that he is adaptable, that he can change change the direction of the craftsmanship to match the materials and stay on top of the current trends. Having said that, he's been shaping surfboards 1950 to right now. And, I'm proud to say he's based here in Santa Barbara. John Comer, I've admired his paintings for a long time, began painting in 1968, had his first solo gallery exhibition also here in Santa Barbara. And his work is a sort of a combination of maritime and plein air and surfing, and he actually paints. He does painting voyages to the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America, Pacific Islands, and Africa. And so he's a participant and a contributor to this book. And let's just start the hour by talking about how you're going to see the exhibition. So everybody knows Santa Barbara Maritime Museum is right on Harbor Way. The galleries are Thursdays through Tuesdays, closed Wednesdays. Actually, I should say it the other way, Tuesday through Thursday, closed Wednesday. June 24th to October 30th, the show is up. And a venerable list of sponsors of the show. And Greg, I wonder if you can tell me, so what was the impetus for the show? How did you think of this?
So, you know, Rennie's been a great supporter of the Maritime Museum for years. We've always had a great relationship with Rennie. In fact, when I started the surfing exhibit in 2008, I think we finally got that open. We that were going to be hung. Had no idea that came down and hung those. And then he looked around and he says, "Well, you don't really have a board of mine." And we're like, "We would love a board of yours." And he ran home and got another board that's still in that exhibit today. And then a year or two later, he brought one of his beautiful abalone, Zealand abalone on the edges and white Japanese abalone in the middle. We've always had a great relationship with him. In fact, we've honored him and surfer Sean Thompson this at our paddle out for SBMM. So we've always had that. We came to Emily Fox, and you mentioned the great exhibits we have at it's Emily Fox, our curator, who really puts those. I've never had an artist with how she hangs them. And so Emily obviously saw that this would be a great exhibit, and John came here originally with that idea and to honor Rennie. So it was just a perfect fit for the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum.
So I wonder if, John, can you tell us a bit about the book?
Yes. The book, friends,
Oh, you know what? We should go to quick break, and let's see when we do this break. Maybe Richard can help us fix the audio, because you guys are kind of coming in and out. So, you know, we're still on Zoom. We're still a little bit in the lockdown mode. So we got this technical stuff to kind of tackle right now. So Richard, how about we go to quick break, and while we're at break, maybe talk to the guys and see if we can get our audio better on that. Sorry, dear listener, we'll take care of this when we get back from the break. Don't turn that dial. I'm here talking about Heritage, Craft, and Evolution, surfboard design, 1885, goes back that long, 1959. And I'm talking with Rennie Yater, a famous name in the surfing community for his shaping and crafting of gorgeous surfboards, and the wonderful artist, John Comer. He's going to tell us a little bit about his contribution to the book that is the offshoot of this beautiful, beautiful show when we get back from the break. Don't turn that down. Back in a second.
Okay, Elizabeth, you're clear.
So what's going on
I'm
with the
having Greg
audio?
call me back.
Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you through Zoom.
It turns out humans are more likely to give the
Can you hear me? Hello? I can hear you on Zoom, Greg.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is it better like this?
Well, so far it's not cutting out, so let's see how that works with the Zoom microphone, okay?
All right, can you guys talk? Let's see how you sound.
Okay, do you hear me all right?
Yeah, you guys will just speak up a little bit, but I think we can live with this. I don't know what the problem is with the phone line. I don't know if there's some gating issues or what have you, because you have it on speakerphone. So let's try the microphone there on your computer.
All right, why don't you guys move in a little closer? And then why don't you, Randy, go first.
Hi there, Rennie Yater here.
All right, just be sure you speak up when you're talking.
Okay,
And then John, go ahead.
how's this, Richard? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but again, you'll need to speak up. If there's any way of moving that microphone any closer, that's fine. Otherwise, let's just leave it as is. I'd rather work on just boosting the volume than it cutting in and out.
Okay, how's this? Is that better?
Oh, yeah, that is better. Very good. All right, I think we got it worked out, Elizabeth. I think we're good to go.
Okay.
funded by charitable contributions. In the delivering process, they spend time with the people when they're delivering. Some of these folks are shut in and don't have a lot of opportunity for interaction with others. Food from the Heart is a wonderful local nonprofit.
To learn more about Food from the Heart, to make a donation, or to sign up to volunteer, go to sbfoodfromtheheart.com. That's sbfoodfromtheheart.com. Or call 805-334-5292.
All right, Elizabeth, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart. We're talking about the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum show, Heritage Craft and Evolution, Surfboard Design, 1885-1959. A super interesting combination of the craft, the sport, and the art. Exciting. Wonderful exhibit of surfboards, paintings, and historic photographs. And we're talking today with John Comer, a wonderful artist, active in the surfing community, Rennie Yater, a famous name in the surfing community, a shaper since the 1950s, based here in Santa Barbara. And John was speaking to us about the book that's sort of an offshoot of this wonderful exhibit. I had the great opportunity to read it last night and to look at all the gorgeous imagery. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's fantastic. John, tell me a little bit about the book and your paintings in the book.
Artist put the book together, and she used Matt Warshaw's Encyclopedia Surfing for.
Yeah, we're still having audio problems. So let's take a quick break and see if we can do something with that audio. Richard, what do you say? Should we take a break? Okay, we'll take a quick break and let's see. Richard's going to counsel the guys and see if we can get them on a proper audio when we get back. Sorry for that, dear listener. Bear with us. We're going to get the guys to talk to us with a little more clarity in a minute. Don't turn that dial. Back in a sec.
Okay, Greg, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go into the settings, the audio settings of Zoom, and I need you to tell me when you get there.
Not quite sure how to get there.
Well, if you're looking at the screen with the pictures, with the video,
Okay.
bottom left-hand corner, there's a
Okay,
microphone and the little
Got it.
carrot or arrow, and you want to click on that little arrow.
Got it.
There's a set at the bottom. It says audio settings. You want to select that. Click on that.
Got it.
You have on the right-hand side of the page, you've got speaker and microphone. Under microphone, there is a checkbox that says automatically adjust microphone volume. Do you see that?
It's checked.
Is it uncheck it? Uncheck it.
It is unchecked now.
All right, now go ahead and close that up, and let's try that for the next segment.
All right. You want to test them right now? Can you hear them right now?
No, it has nothing to do. Their volumes are good. It's more that if there's more audio coming from the other sources, it cuts you off. Now it won't do that.
Got it. All right.
You're all set. So that should solve the problem, and we'll have, Elizabeth, you're gonna have a nice long segment here before we take another break.
Okay.
Dude, I'm going to hire you to
Go
be
in
my
depth.
tech guy.
I'm sorry, say again?
I'm going to hire you to be my tech.
Okay, I'll take it, especially considering you're down there by the water. I'd love it. Another 30 seconds. Stand by.
It's Cork and Fork Radio. My name is Drew Wakefield. Join me for an hour of nonstop action on the tastiest show on the radio. Live Fridays at noon and Friday evenings at 10, Saturday mornings at 6, and Sunday afternoons at 5 at KZSB AM 1290, the Santa Barbara News Press radio station. the station that talks about Santa Barbara, the most majestic city in the continental United States.
All right, here we go.
Hey, little cobra, don't you know you're gonna shut 'em down? I took my cobra down to the track, hitched to the back of my Cadillac.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart, and thank you, listeners, for sticking by us. Richard Dugan, the amazing producer of the show, has got the technical issues straightened out. And so we're back with Rennie Yater and John Comer and Greg Gorga. We're talking about Heritage Craft and Evolution show opening June 24th at our own Maritime Museum. And it charts the progress of surfboard design 1885 to 1959. And how it's done is you'll see surfboards, you'll see beautiful works of art. Every sort of step of the way along the galleries has both visuals and also materials to show you how surfing evolved. And John was telling us, John's a wonderful artist and his paintings are featured in the book. He was telling us about the book itself. Go ahead, John. Let's see if we got the audio bet.
Okay, how's this?
Perfect.
All right. Us in the project. We started the project about 15, 16 years ago, and we had 3 boards done. And for a number of reasons, personal, financial, what was going on in the world, it just lapsed. And Rennie Curtis is a graphic designer. She did the book.
I know we're still having trouble with this. Okay, so let's go to another quick break. Sorry about this, listener. So go to another quick break and let's see if we can get this back on track. Don't turn it down. Back in a minute. We're talking about Heritage Craft and Evolution surfboard design, 1885 to 1959, a show at the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum of Art. Don't turn that down. Back in a minute.
All right, let's.
Can everybody call
what?
in on?
It's baffling me because it shouldn't be dropping out at all. The only thing I can think of is they're too far away from the microphone. So they're going to have to come closer in order for them to.
You want to try the telephone? Would that be
I don't know
better?
why it keeps cutting out.
Do you want to try the telephone again? Or that wasn't good?
Now,
That
Richard,
wasn't good because it kept breaking up every 5 or 7 seconds.
if we forget the video and everybody calls in on their cell phones, how would that be?
I would say let's give that a shot. The 3 of you call 805-564-1290. 805-564-1290. Call right now on each of your individual phones. Elizabeth will stay right where she is. I will link everybody together and we'll make this happen.
Are we going to get off Zoom? Should I just close down Zoom?
Go ahead and no, you can leave your video open. Just mute your microphone on Zoom. Just mute your microphone. Just call me on the cell phone. 805-564-1290 and I'll conference you guys together, but we'll be all set to go here in just a minute. We'll get this working.
Hello. 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 Can you hear me? Whose phone is that? Okay, now you want to be separated more. Yeah. All right. You put the chair back.
right, here we go, Elizabeth. In 3, we'll try this again. 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart, and we're talking with Greg Gorga, John Comer, and Rennie Yater about the new show, Heritage, Craft, and Evolution Surfboard Design, 1885 to 1959, a new show opening June 24th at the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum. And John was talking a little bit about the book before we had to go to quick break. The book is a gorgeous presentation, a combination of what's in the exhibit and more. And John, are you still there?
I do not have a clue as to what's going on, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
How's this?
Well, let's go to another quick break. We'll see if we can maybe do something different with the audio. Don't turn that down, dear listener. Back in a minute with the wonderful guys from the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum.
Hello? So what do we, this is Greg.
Richard, do you think if we just forget about Zoom entirely? Well, I guess he's working on something.
Still?
There you go.
All right,
Hi,
Elizabeth, I've got them squared away.
Yeah.
We're working off of 2 phones for 3 gentlemen. I think this time we might have it. This is the craziest thing I have ever experienced in my life. But here we go. We're going to be coming back. We're going to get her done. If you want, you can go all the way. You got 30 minutes you can take. I think we got it worked out.
Giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that. Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
When a bank is owned by the community and invests in the community, it answers to a different call. It's personal. It's driven by your needs, not ours. Welcome to American Riviera Bank, based right here in Santa Barbara with branches in Montecito and Goleta. Our customers know us for personal service every day, every way.
You can bank on us.
Bank on us.
Bank on us!
American Riviera Bank. Bank on better.
For all I've been blessed with in my life.
All right, Elizabeth, we're coming back. In 3, 2, 1, you are live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart, and we're talking today about Heritage, Craft, and Evolution Surfboard Design 1885 to 1959, an exhibit about surfboards, surfing, painting, and historic relevance to surfing and the surf community here and in California in general. And we've got Greg Gorga on the line, John Comer, a wonderful artist whose work is a contributor to the book, and Rennie Yater, a wonderful surfboard shaper that started his craft in 1950s here in Santa Barbara. And we were talking a little bit with John about the book that is an offshoot of the exhibit. And John, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about how the book came together and what your art does for the book.
Well, the book is basically, it just chronicles the whole show. And my girlfriend, Suzette Curtis, put the book together when we were having a hiatus in the show. We started doing this 15, 16 years ago. Kevin and Rennie and myself. And Suzette wanted to put the book together, and she goes, "Why don't you guys just finish the show?" A lot of the boards were shaped. And so we just got back into it, and it's been a long, long process to get it here. Rennie will tell you more about his side of it, but I just want to say in the beginning, it was his brainchild. It was Rennie's idea to bring the history of surfing in California to the public that we have now, that a lot of the people, maybe most of them, know nothing about. And he's been involved with it from almost the beginning, except for the 1885 part. So
Yeah.
it's up. You take it from here, Elizabeth.
Okay, so maybe I wonder if we could speak with Rennie for a few minutes about the boards that are in the show. Rennie is one of the first and most prominent commercial surfboard shapers in the surfing community, and he's been doing that since 1950. His shop is here in Santa Barbara, and can we have Rennie to tell us about the boards that are featured?
Okay. Since I've been in this industry for my entire life, I grew up riding one of the heavy boards that's in the show, actually the heaviest one. I've experienced surfing and through that whole period, rode every one of those boards that are in the show. And eventually I started to work in the industry back in the 50s. And I worked for Hobie, and I worked for Dale Velzy. I didn't make surfboards at that time for myself or anybody else. And then when I came to Santa Barbara, actually for a different reason other than to make surfboards, to make a living commercial fishing, I took up the idea of making surfboards in Santa Barbara because nobody else did it, and there was a small demand for it at the time. So I opened a shop up and down Anacapa Street in 1959, and I've been making surfboards ever since. Now, bringing up to date, about 20 years ago, I thought nobody has really talked a lot about what really started surfing back in the late 30s and the 40s and the very early 50s, and the hardships about the surfboards at that time and who was involved in it. It was all wood surfboard at that time. They were difficult to make, and very few people made them. But a couple of guys came along early on and did a very good job of it. And I thought it'd be a really good time to explain this to the general public, mostly, how this all started back probably in the late 40s and through the 50s. That was what we call the wood era, prior to the introduction of polyester and polyurethane foam into the industry. So this is what this show really is about. Those that contributed to this era, that represented the era very well. Now, of course, there were other small ones doing it, but these were the big players that really made a difference in this industry back in the 40s, and then when it changed to plastics. I was part of that only because I worked for them until recently. So that's pretty much the whole show is about. It's an educational project. People that don't know a lot about surfing can see this show, and it's very understandable. So that's where we're at the present time.
So you mentioned, Rennie, that in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there were major players. Can you name me one or two from each of those eras? So let's start with the 30s. So in the 30s, who were the major players and what did the boards look like?
They were, if you look at the boards, the biggest one there that has a lot of the abalone shell on it, that was the traditional type surfboards then. There was also the paddleboard that was introduced, not for the purpose of surfing, just mainly for paddling around and in races. And that was used a little bit at the beginning. They were very difficult to ride waves with, but they were lighter. So there was an interest in it. And that was the only other board that actually was used for surfing at that time. The boards at that time, of course, were limited to what the materials were. And they were all probably, the lightest ones were around 60 pounds and the heaviest ones running up around 100 pounds. You had to be pretty much an adult person to pick up the board, take it down and put it in the water and go out and ride it. So you wouldn't see very young people doing it, mostly middle or early 20s, mostly men, 100% male. And that's it was. It wasn't a lot of people that did it that time. And from there on, it changed only because we brought it down to just straight wood, balsa wood, called balsa wood. And that was the wood that was used right up to the end of that era, which was probably the late 40s.
I cannot believe what you just said, that the boards were 100 pounds. So you'd have to carry 100 pounds down to the line. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to realize they were mostly 10-foot surfboards made with a combination of redwood, pine, and balsa wood. So that's why they weighed so much. When they got down to straight balsa wood, they did reduce the weight, but not much under 60 pounds.
Lord. Okay, so that's the 30s. So we've got these 60 to 100 pound balsa wood, redwood, and cedar surfboards that are hugely long. So that's what's happening in the 30s, and they're decorated in the traditional way with abalone, etc. Now, what happens in the 40s?
Well, the Second World War, things kind of shut down. And then when a lot of the guys came back, worked in the Army or Navy, came back, and it turned mostly to balsa wood, straight balsa wood. Nothing really changed till the late 40s. And probably Bob Simmons was the main person that changed that. He started making surfboards as light as possible. And he actually introduced a bit of a plastic product called styrene foam and put those into the middle of the boards, covered them with plywood on the outside, used balsa wood on the rails, and encapsulated the board with a new material called fiberglass cloth and polyester resin. These were products that were designed really for the government designed them during the Second World War, and they were made possible for public use after it. He was probably the first person credited for using those materials for surfboards. They obviously made the boards a little bit lighter, and that was about the end of the 40s in that era. Polyurethane foam didn't come back into being developed till about the late 50s, 58 or 59. And when that happened, it changed completely over to plastics.
Now, that's an interesting date to me, because that's the date you opened your shop, 1959. So were you starting your shop with these new plastics?
Yes, I was. I did shape a few balsa wood boards. They were popular, obviously. The transition happened very quick. The minute the plastic boards came out, it was obviously they're a lot lighter.
I have a question for you, Rennie. I'm an appraiser, and occasionally I see sports collectible auctions, and I noticed that some of the antique surfboards, you can call them antique, go for pretty high prices. So some of them are collector's items, and I wonder if you could advise somebody who's a collector of surfboards, to what board would you purchase as an investment?
Oh, that's hard to answer, because a lot of the boards, it depends on all the people that made these boards back then in the wood era. They're very valuable. And of course, a lot of them didn't last. It's hard to find one that's in very good condition. So the ones that were good, that were really authentic boards, of course, are worth a lot of money. There's no question about that. As we came to plastics, the boards, obviously, there was a lot more made. And the very first era of those boards, they didn't last very well. So they got used up, and they got used up very hard. And it's hard to find a good one in good condition. But the ones that are in very good condition, of course, are worth a lot of money. It's also got to do about who made them. That's important. And I guess that's what you're asking for, is that kind of the reasons why they're collectible.
And they're also beautiful. I mean, the shape of them. And, you know, you took us through the 50s. Now we've got the explosion of surfing in the 60s and the surf movies and this sort of thing. So what's happening in the 60s in the craftsmanship of boards?
Well,
that's not about the show.
You know, in the 60s, probably the biggest thing that happened was, one of the biggest things that happened was surf movies. Photographers are now taking pictures of surfing and putting small films together on 16 millimeter film and showing them in high schools. That was a big surge on getting people interested in surfing. And then along came the movie Gidget. Gidget was a milestone in introducing surfing. There was a big surge at that time on surfboard manufacturing to keep up with the demand. And from there on, it has grown, obviously. And a lot of the boards that were made in that area, of course, are very, very popular and collectible. And the ones that are in good shape, of course, are bring very good prices. Bringing it up to date, this project here is an accumulation of using the materials we have today and some of the very talented people like Kevin Ansell, who knows how to do some of these things. I ran across him at a gallery show in Santa Monica back in the turn of this century. Somebody told me that I should go down and take a look at a display done in the gallery area in Santa Monica. Somebody has a couple of surfboards down there with abalone shell on it. That caught my attention, mainly because the first income I had in my life was diving abalone for a living. So I thought I better go down and take a look at it, which I did. The day I did it, they were sort of shutting down the show, and I happened to notice somebody that was coming in and opening the door. And I asked him, "Where is this show about the balsa wood boards that have abalone shell?" He says, "Well, it's right here." He said, "Can I come up and see?" I said, "Sure, I can let you in." I went in and started looking at the boards. He was busy doing some other things. And I asked him, who is this person that did these? He says, "It's me." So I asked him who he was. My name is Kevin Ansell. So we started talking. And after a while, he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm a surfboard shaper up here in Santa Barbara. The name is Rennie Yater." And he looked at me, he says, "You're Rennie Yater?" I said, "Yeah, so what?" He says, "I've admired your work all the time. He says, come on in." So anyway, that set up a very good relationship right in the beginning. And down the road, we started talking together about possibly doing some boards together with his talent, my ability to make surfboards. And that started the whole process right then and there.
So the show is a collaboration between Kevin Ansell, yourself, Rennie Yater, and John Comer, of course, pulled together by Greg and Greg's staff at the museum. And I wonder, Greg, can Greg pick up the phone there for a minute? I want to ask Greg a little bit about the history. So we're talking about the history of boards, but also specifically the history of surfing. So your show starts back in 1885 with three Koa brothers who were to the Royal Hawaiian throne. And coincidentally, in 1885, they attend a boarding school in San Mateo, and they introduced surfing to Santa Cruz. Three Hawaiian brothers. Tell me a little bit about that inception.
So I'll let Rennie talk about it because he has that history, and everything I've gotten from it was from him. So Rennie, why don't you tell him about those three Hawaiians?
Yeah. These three Hawaiians came over. They were actually going to a finishing school. I don't think it was Stanford, John. Where was that? It was in San Mateo. They were getting a higher education over there, and they were living in Santa Cruz, actually out on the point on Santa Cruz, in some estate out there. And while they were there, it was the end of the summer, I believe, in July. They happened to notice that there was some waves down there that was very similar to the waves they were riding at Waikiki Beach. However, they found out about the redwoods. There was a mill up in the San Leandro River up behind Santa Cruz that processed redwood. So they went up and, I guess, talked to them to see if they could make some surfboards. And they made the boards, and apparently they floated the boards down the river to the river mouth. And they actually went out and rode some waves at the river mouth, San Leandro River, in 1885.
I cannot believe that.
That
I'm just trying to
happened.
picture. Unbelievable.
They went back to Hawaii, and nothing happened. Very little happened about surfing at that point. Then, at the turn of the century, George Freeth came to California. He was a lifeguard. They brought him here for, what was the reason, John?
Henry Huntington brought him here.
Let me John handle this. He can.
So Henry Huntington was big on trying to develop Southern California coast, and he brought George Freeth over to demonstrate surfing and to teach people to swim. And he was the first lifeguard in California. And he was very instrumental in starting the beach culture because he showed young kids how to swim, how to surf. He developed lifeguards, some of the early lifeguard saving devices. And he had a lot of rescues to his credit. And he also taught Duka Hanamoku how to swim. He was a swimming coach. He unfortunately died very young from the Spanish flu after he had exerted himself saving, I think, 6 to 9 fishermen who had capsized in the wintertime, swam out and saved them all by himself.
So we're talking about like 1918, something, 1916, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
George Freeth was in the early 1900s. So it would have been the teens. I'm not sure exactly what year he came over. I'm going to say about 1903. Oh,
Rennie says he came over in 1903.
Rennie said he came over in 03, but I know he died in 1918. So he was active during that period. And you can see the pictures of him. There's a few pictures of him here, and one of the boards is a replica of what he rode at that time. Very, very crude. I don't know how he rode it at all, but I guess he was an amazing guy.
There's a statue of him in Santa Monica Beach, right near the pier, where he was a lifeguard, I believe.
And so describe a little bit the board that he rode. What did it look like? How much did it weigh?
You'll have to come see it.
Okay.
No, it's about I think it's 8 feet or a little bit longer. It's very crudely shaped. It's just kind of some planks that are nailed together with some cross pieces, and it's very round on the bottom, very straight tail, no fin. And I don't know how much it weighed. Probably, it must have been probably 60, 70, 80 pounds, something like that. It was not nearly as big as the Hawaiian boards. The Hawaiians were riding boards that were 14 to 18 feet long, redwood.
No.
So those boards were very heavy.
And, you know, Elizabeth, surfing was different back then. You know, today they're going up and down the waves and doing these sharp turns. Those big, heavy boards, you could barely turn them. You would have to, I think Gates Foss, we have a video of from his son in our surfing exhibit, and he talks about how they would have to lie down to turn the board or use their foot. They didn't, it was very difficult to turn those boards.
When you say the Hawaiian boards were 18 feet?
8 feet.
18.
Oh, 18 feet.
The YOLO boards were 18 feet long.
It's a mini
Good
boat.
heavens.
Narrow.
A mini boat. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the book itself, and we talked a little about the history of surfing and sort of shaping the surfboard. And I'm wondering if Rennie can talk about the idea of what. So I'm interested to know when women entered the scene in surfing, and if the boards had made any difference to women coming in. So, you know, what you were saying in the early years, and especially in the 30s, if you've got a board that's 100 pounds, that's, you know, and you're a woman and you're 100 pounds, well, you're probably not going to be hauling your board. And so when did women enter the sport? And did the materials that the boards were made of have any influence upon women entering the sport?
Actually, I don't think women entered surfing probably till well around the 40s, early 40s. There's pictures of them tandem surfing. The bigger boards, you could take two people out and they would tandem surf. Very few women surfed on a surfboard back then because of the difficulty of, so a man had to take the board and put it in the water and the girl would come down and paddle it out. It was difficult for them to do. When surfing started in Malibu, that's probably when women got into surfing. It was a lot easier wave. It was closer to the beach, very warm summer water. That made it happen probably for women more than any time. Although there were pictures taken in the 40s of tandem surfing. And of course there was women surfing when you went to Waikiki Beach. The beach boys would take them out and they'd tandem surf on the big boards. That was done there way before it started in California.
So, okay, so at Waikiki Beach, you'd have the beach boys that would like take a woman who was a tourist and say, come on, we're going to tandem surf.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea. I can't even imagine what that must have looked like. On these huge...
If the boys were there, the girls were following them there, right?
They used real big boards and they rode the wave right straight to the beach, and they'd hold on to the girl in front of them.
Sounds wonderful. So, you know, Greg, I see you're on the line there on your office phone. I wonder, you know, putting this show together, the combination of art and photographs and videos and actual surfboards through history, etc. Has anybody else, any other museum done such a wonderful mix?
Well, this is the first museum that'll have this exhibit in particular. So this is wonderful. And, you know, I'm not sure other museums have done this, but, you know, we are a history museum. We're about the ocean, and surfing's a big part of that history. So this is really the perfect combination for us because it honors all along the California coast, not just the Santa Barbara Channel, but the whole coastline. But of course, the Santa Barbara Channel, there's several surf spots that are featured in that, like Rincon. So it's the perfect combination for us because we love history. Our last exhibit with the Arthur Beaumont paintings for the U.S. Navy, also beautiful artwork, but was a big part of our history. So again, this is another example of that. So, and for Santa Barbara especially, we have such a rich history here in Santa Barbara with all the filmmakers like Bruce Brown, George Greeno. You have the, you know, Zog, with the surf wax, and you have Rennie here and Al Merrick, Channel Islands boards, and you have Tommy Curran and Sean Thompson, who didn't grow up here, but 1977 world champion, lives here now. So this area has such a great history, and then of course Rincon, considered the queen of the coast line. So wonderful that surf spot is featured in this exhibit as well. And then John's artwork. We always do a rotating art exhibit on our second floor galleries, and so really great to have John, because I don't think we've worked with him before. And then of course honoring Rennie and the history that he is a part of. That's the wonderful thing about the Maritime Museum, and not my job. I get to meet. We not only honor these legends, but I get to meet some of them. So and Rennie, besides being an amazing artist with surfboards, is just an amazing guy too. He's just really such a wonderful person.
So I wondered if you could just end the show a little bit. We're missing one of the founding members of the show, Kevin Ansell, and is John Comer still with us?
Yeah, you want John to talk about Kevin?
Yeah, I really do, because it's artist to artist.
You want to talk about Kevin Ansell?
Yeah, well, Rennie and Kevin, this whole show was their idea, and I was really honored to be asked in, because Kevin is such a good painter in his own right, and they wanted to put paintings of the surf spots on the boards. So Kevin said, "I want John Comer to do it." Rennie goes, "Yeah, let's." So they called me and brought me in, and they brought me these beautiful boards that were all finished, and okay, now you get to paint on them. And it was pretty intimidating. But I got in there and just started going. How else can you do it?
So something to realize that I really love about this exhibit is they look like they are the original wooden boards from 1885 and on, but Kevin really has, I'm not really sure the word for it, but he's made them look like the original wooden boards, but they're not wood. They're modern foam boards.
They're faux finished. I want to pick up on that a little, Greg. Sorry to interrupt, but at one point we brought a board down to a museum, and we were standing there. We unveiled it and we're looking at it. It was under a huge Granville Redmond painting, and Kevin nudged me, goes, "We look pretty good next to that, don't we?" I go, "Yeah." And the guys went up to it and they looked at it and they didn't say anything for a long time. And they go, "Well, who painted it?" And Kevin didn't say anything. I said, "Do you mean who painted the balsa wood, or who did the painting of the surf spot?" And they said, "Well, that's a balsa board." And I go, "No, it's not. Look closer." And they go, "Yes, it is." I mean, that's how good his faux finishing was. And later, when he moved away, we brought in Peter St. Pierre, finished up the last 3 boards for us, had a totally different technique, but also did a wonderful job.
So let me see if I can just summarize this. So some of the boards, even though they look like they're historic boards, John and Kevin actually did the faux finishing and the painting on them. Am I getting that right?
No, well, mostly. Here's the deal. Rennie shaped these boards to look exactly like the original boards in their form, in their shape. And then Kevin, he faux finished them to look like balsa wood or redwood. He painted them to look exactly like balsa wood or redwood. And then I painted the specific surf spots on the boards, like landscape paintings, onto the boards, vignetted. So they kind of flow out. They're not square. And I think that covers it. That's pretty much it. Greg's giving me a yes. Okay.
Yeah, well, this is what I was seeing on the cover of the book, and in the pages of the book. And I was wondering how those creations, they glow. They're absolutely beautiful. So you've got the combination of Rennie's shaping, Kevin's faux, and then you've got John's overpainting of the landscapes and the maritime themes on those boards. That's what makes them glow. They're just beautiful. Well, just one more shout out before we have to leave. Heritage Craft and Evolution Surfboard Design, 1885. to 1959, and it's at our own Santa Barbara Maritime Museum, a groundbreaking exhibit bringing together all kinds of media, not only the material of the eras that it's projecting, but it's got video and it's got photographs and then paintings. And so it's really fantastic. Opening June 24th. The museum is Tuesdays and Thursdays, closed Wednesdays. And you guys will you're just jaw dropping if the book has any indication of what that show is going to look like. How fantastic. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you to Greg Gorga, Rennie Yater, and John Comer, and in absentia, Kevin Ansell.
Thank you.
And you are clear. You are clear. We made it.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Richard will, I'm sure, clean this up because it's going to rebroadcast tonight at 8 and then it'll rebroadcast Sunday at 11. So, but Richard will clean up the beginning, so we won't even hardly notice what was going on with the technical issues. So, and I'll send you the cleaned up